Hello everyone, welcome to Coder Corner. I'm your host Harish. So today we are going to look into functions. So we will discuss about what's a function, how to define a function, how to call a function, other usages of a function, as well as some basics of Lambda functions. So let's get into the video. So let's discuss what is a function. Basically, function is a group of related statements to perform a specific task. So this is we break a bigger code into smaller chunks so that it's completely reusable, modular, and it's easy to organize and manage. So functions are like smaller bricks to a bigger house. So it makes building a house easier. So building blocks of our code is functions. So how a function is defined? We normally define a function with something called def. So we define with that and we give a name to the function. Let us say I want a function to add just two numbers. So I can give any name. So probably add nums, whatever the names I feel like giving. And what happens, we need to give a parenthesis at the end, in a sense like it is initiating a function. In that parenthesis we can give any parameters if we want, but in this scenario of add nums we are expecting probably to add two numbers. So let's give two numbers, n1 comma n2, and this is a colon which needs to be given at the end of it, so that initiates the function, and inside it is given whatever given inside it is called a statement. So like the heading of the function is add nums, and two variables are given as n1 and n2, which will be default to be given whenever the function is called. So we can do something about this n1 and n2 inside it, since it just adds numbers. So let's return. So return is something when you call this function at the end, whatever the operations you do inside the function, ultimately it will return. So let me show you n1 plus n2. So it's returning a addition of n1 and n2, right? So this is the basics of a function. So function is defined with a def and some function name and parenthesis. If needed only we can give parameters, and it depends, like in some test cases or if some functions we don't need this parameter, so that's okay to be empty, and we need to give a colon, so that initiates it, and inside it we have to define something what the function does. So here we are returning n1 plus n2, so it's just add. Now let's see how to call the same function. So to call it, we just directly call the name, that is add nums, and we will give two values. So let us say 4 comma 8. So I'm giving two integers for addition. But the point is you are calling this function but you are doing nothing about it. So I will assign it to be a variable v, and then we can use that variable to do something. Let me run it. So print v, and just assigning to a variable v and using v as to print. You may ask like why we are doing it two times, why can't we just add nums into the print? We can do that. I'm just for understanding statement. So 12, so 4 plus 8 is 12, so that's true. If like previously we can do this also directly, it will be the same, so it doesn't change anything. But assigning to a variable, probably if you have any other usages you can do it. So this is how basically to create a function, how to call a function, and whatever it returns can be assigned to be a variable and do something over it. So let us say like I want to do adding all those two numbers. I just want to add a constant fixed, let me say like v plus some 10. So whatever the sum of this, I just want to add a 10 over it. So that's the reason it becomes simpler. So coming back to these arguments, which are n1 and n2, there are two types of arguments, which are default arguments and arbitrary arguments. So default arguments, let me say, if what happens if I don't give any values here, but I want something to be happening by default. So by default value, I want to give 1 here, and n2 also by default I want to give as 7. So here I just want to give one variable, not the two. So let me say like I'm giving 4, and let's see what happens. we have 21. So let's assume this one, it's 4 plus 7 is how much? It's 11. 11 plus 10 is 21. So you can see when the arguments are not given, it goes to default. So let me say I don't want to even give 4, then run it. It becomes 18 because that's 1 plus 7, 8, 8 plus 10, 18. So these are default values or default arguments, where we define a default value in case we are not going to call any specific number changed. So this is default. There is something called arbitrary arguments. Arbitrary arguments are like it's defined with a star. In a sense, there can be n number of numbers. Let me give a small example. Another function. So we want to say greet function, and probably we give some names. So in this, it's considered an array for this, whatever the names is there, it's always considered an array. For let me say like for name in names, I want to print, I can call this function greet names and give all the names inside it. So greet, I can give some 5 to 6 names. So let's say like, so these are the people I want to just call, and let me run it. What happens? Let's see. So you can see it, this function has, we can keep on, the number is not defined. So this is a arbitrary argument where the length is not defined. So if the user wants to give n number of length, he can give n number of length of variables, and it can be used in that function. And there is one more function which is a single line function. We call it as a lambda function. So let me define a lambda function. So let's say like I want to go for the same add, but this lambda function we need to give as lambda. So n1 comma n2. So these are input, then we separate it by a colon, then we create the whatever the operation we want to do. So you can see this is a single line, and you can do something about it. Let me show you how to use this. So let me print this, just not add, and we can give two values like 2 comma 5, and let us see what happens here. 2 comma 5 is 7. So yeah, so two values are considered as input, and some operation on those input is being done. It's a simple function where we don't want to have this defined and everything and all. We can just want to do it in a single line operations. We can use lambda function. So that's all guys for the basics of functions. For any queries, please do comment below, and I will add the whole code of this in a GitHub repository. I would be sharing in the description. For any future references, you guys can look into it. Yeah, that's all from this video. So we will meet again. Please do not forget to subscribe and like this video so that I can be encouraged to do more videos. Thanks.